Hello everyone and welcome back to another episode of 1000 Gurus. Today's guest is Dr. June Lee. June is a dedicated and highly skilled physical therapist based in West Los Angeles. With 4 years of experience under her belt, June specializes in orthopedics and post-op rehab, making her a go-to expert for adults and athletes of all kinds. She's worked with an impressive range of patients from D1 football players to marathon runners to professional and collegiate dancers, and nearly everything in between. A lifelong dancer herself, June has even served as a former director of Cabo Modern, a hip-hop dance group based at UC Irvine. June also runs a small side business where she provides mobile PT sessions, treating patients in various locations like at home or in the gym. She creates engaging content as a UGC creator on social media. When she's not helping others achieve their physical best, you can find her working out with her husband, dining out with her sister, or training for her latest challenge, a Disney half marathon. So June and I go way back to our first year in college at UCI, so she's one of my longest time friends on the show. And this is easily one of my newest favorite episodes, as June is very introspective and thoughtful about all of the insights she's learned along the way. Some of the main topics we get into are her journey into becoming a physical therapist, her more recent journey as a user-generated content creator, and we talk a bit about loss and letting go. It's funny because in the first 10 minutes, we unexpectedly just started fanboying and fangirling over the late Kobe Bryant, which was a peak highlight for our collegiate dance experience. I think we both really had fun recording this, and hopefully you all will have fun listening to it. So without further ado, please enjoy this episode with my friend, Dr. June Lee. Hello everyone and welcome back to 1000 Gurus. Today's guest is June Lee. Yay. Well, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. Taking the time out. This is a beautiful Saturday afternoon. So yeah, let me just jump into how I know you. So we met in 2010 when we both joined Cabo Modern, a collegiate dance team at UCI. Mm-hmm. And that was a lot of fun. We were first years and both dancing. And our K-10 class has been through like a lot of major events together, mostly June's life events. She brings us together all like 10-ish of us.
Yes.
It depends on who can come.
10, 11, 12.
Yeah, 10, 11, 12. And so the past 14 years, like you moving away, you moving back, finishing PT school, getting married, etc. So we have a lot of yearly reunions. You are passionate about giving back to the dance community. You work at UCI now, right?
Actually, no longer, but I was working there for the past academic year.
There you go.
So yes.
Nice. And as all of my guests, you're probably my longest time friend. And I consider you're like family, or at least all of our class does. Like we're all siblings. We've been through a lot together. And so so it's good to have you. It's always nice to have really, really close friends here. Any clarifications on any of that stuff? It's just kind of like a intro.
That's good. Yep. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So our intro topic, you might have seen this in the brief, but do you have an idea of craziest or funnest memories from our time on Cabo Modern that stand out?
Oh my gosh. There were so many memories, and most of them I'm probably unable to articulate in words or allowed to say out loud.
Yeah.
But I feel, we've gone through so many things together. And one of the best memories I always tell everyone about is when we had danced for Kobe Bryant.
Right. Yes.
And that was just like such a highlight of being on KM. Like we were working on, or it was Hell Week for one of our competitions, and we were doing a dress run through in the dark, in the cold, outside on concrete. And totally normal. But then all of a sudden, like I'm in the bathroom getting ready, and I hear all this commotion, and I hear like Josh just like screaming. And I'm just like, what is going on? And everyone is just crowding around this person, and get closer, and we're like,
Kobe Bryant.
No.
Just hanging out.
Crazy. And the craziest part was that, like, I guess he comes there all the time. Mm-hmm. But when he had stayed to watch us perform, at the very end, he said something like, it was 2010, right? It was during the finals or the championships. And he was like, if we played like y'all just dance, we would win the championship.
Yes.
And lo and behold, they won the championships that year. Yeah. So that was the craziest thing. Just being able to say that one, like we saw him, we met him, but then being able to dance for him and then him telling that to us was just like, I can go to heaven right now.
Insane. Yeah.
Insane. So
crazy.
The highlights. Yes. Totally.
Like even on top of that. So like I'll link the video if I can find it, but like he was recording, right? Like he was holding the camera or he was next to it because he was
yeah.
cheering. He was like, woo!
Yeah.
Like we were blowing his mind. Like
it was crazy.
When we were doing the stunts and Darren was doing like his handstand hops.
Yeah,
And then Kobe was going crazy.
Or like when you did the backflip with Eric at the same time.
That's right.
Like the synchronized backflip. Crazy.
What show was this for again?
I think it was Body Rock.
Okay, yeah. So it was, okay, yeah. So that sounds about right. Oh, because we were wearing the teal.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, right.
Mm-hmm.
Deep V-neck. That was me. What else? Yeah, no, that was crazy. What was crazy about that is that, well, one, when we took the photo, like his arm span was like, I was 2 people away and he got the other side of my shoulder. Yeah, so it was.
You.
Well, yeah, I mean, so yeah, it was like,
amazing.
you know, like one person and then me, and it's Kobe. He's like the only athlete that I ever really liked and followed, like Filipinos and people in LA. Like we can all relate. My mom was like a huge Kobe fan, not even Lakers, but specifically Kobe. So I'm like also like diehard Kobe fan. Only jersey that I have. And he was super nice too because we're just a bunch of college students and we're dancing, and he's like taking photos with us and being super nice. And I'm sure he gets inundated all the time, like when he was like around campus. So to him to watch our show, record it, get all hyped, give us like those inspiring words, and then take photos with us, like, dude, it definitely was peak.
I think what was a really amazing thing was that it was really validating to hear it coming from someone who's an expert in their field, truly GOAT.
Literally one of the best, if not like one of the best, to hear that. I agree.
You know, when you're just practicing amongst yourself and you're giving each other feedback, it's hard to know whether or not you have something that's special because you want to believe in that yourself. But to have, again, someone with this level of respect and prestige tell you that you're also doing something right and that it inspires that person, like, could I ask for anything better? No. You know? So
that's crazy. Okay, so actually coincidentally, because I forgot about that story, and then you brought, that is one of the best memories. I saw a Kobe like reel. Oh no, it was a Jay Shetty reel, and he was saying like, oh, he had heard from his wife Vanessa, like when they were talking, oh, why do you play through injuries? And Kobe was, because everyone knows that Kobe played through injuries a lot, like really bad ones, and when they were talking, Vanessa was saying that, oh yeah, Kobe mentioned because people would save up a lot of money to see him play, and they can probably only afford to see him once, so he doesn't want to disappoint his fans, and to show up for your fans, and it's not even because of he wants the ring, he wants to win. It's because like his fans show him love, so he wants to show that back. Man, that messed me up. That was like 9 a.m. this morning. I was like, oh, why I'm like driving to UCLA. I'm like tearing up. I'm just kidding. I didn't tear up. I actually cried. But like on the freeway, I was like, oh, this hits so hard right now. I just woke up. But yeah, that's a crazy coincidence. And that stuff like that really gets to me. It's knowing the deeper things, and it's not like, oh, he's a competitive person. No, he actually cares about people. So that's what I really admired about him. Yeah,
I think that's a really selfless way to go about integrating other people into your profession, your passions.
Your purpose, your passion.
It's not just about you. It's not just about doing what you think is the right thing for yourself, but other people are looking up to you. Other people are supporting you. And so giving back to them in some capacity is like just full circle moment, I guess, you know, because you wouldn't be who you are without the people that you surround yourself with. Or the people who support you, or the people who pay money to go see you, right? You wouldn't be as big as you are without those types of people. And so I think it's important to keep that in mind as you're doing anything that involves others.
I agree. I feel like that's like a stronger fuel source when it's not about you. It's about something deeper than just, oh, I just want to win or I want to be the best. And I think that's what separated him a lot. And I know for us, like Kobe fanboys and fangirls, I think we like align with that a lot. Another fun fact, like my mom, so she's diehard Kobe fan, right? But she will not watch like his last game. She hasn't watched it yet. And I'm like, Mom, you have to watch it. And because she's like, I can't deal with it. She's still in that sort of grieving, like denial sort of thing.
But she didn't watch it live either?
No. So where were you? Did you watch it live?
I watched the second half of it live because I was doing like a photo booth gig. So I wasn't able to catch the first half, but I rewatched the beginning, but I watched the ending of it live, and
it was an incredible game. And that's not just luck. It's not fluke. That's like all of his hard work paid off like in one moment.
Right. And it's not like the other team was giving it to him.
Exactly.
Because they knew that he didn't want to go out with just like...
Right, like a charity handout. Yeah, exactly. Why would you ever want to go out like
you
that?
You earn it. And then that truly was like a moment where, okay, you really are the GOAT. This is why people respect you. Like you give it your all from beginning to finish. And so... Yeah. Oh my God. My chest is heavy now, JR.
I wasn't expecting to go into this for like just fanboying for the first 10 minutes.
Totally.
But I was at the gym. I caught the end of it, and everyone at the gym was just in the locker room, just like staring. And I was like, I can't miss this. Like,
Yeah.
this is Kobe.
Epic.
Okay, another quick tangent. So there was this one Christmas, maybe like 8 years ago. I went up to visit NorCal for my mom and my parents and stuff like that. My mom, it was on Christmas Day. My mom and my sister and I made a spontaneous trip to watch the Lakers game in LA. So we drove, my mom drove my sister and I 5 hours straight down to watch the Lakers game that day, dropped me off afterwards. It was a very spontaneous, one of those like memories you'll never forget. We're just like, do you want to watch a Kobe game? And we're like, sure, why not? Just drove there on Christmas.
Wow.
And watched it.
Oh
like,
my God.
it was crazy. So
That's core memory
for sure. So when I hear about that quote of him, like, playing through injuries for that, I'm like, yeah, like it wasn't a spectacular game. And I don't even know if they lost or won. It didn't even matter, but it was just like seeing Kobe and like Christmas Day with like my mom and my sister. It was really nice. Yeah. Okay. So now that we're done with Kobe, which is random. Yeah. Not in the game plan, but all right. So career path, we'll get into the normal, you're a PT, right? And so my first question is kind of, how did you get into it? What made you decide you wanted to go into physical therapy? And I guess what was your undergrad experience like? So that's that whole journey, however you want to approach it.
Yeah. Well, I think that subconsciously my family has been brainwashing me to be this PT for the majority of my life. Perfect. When I was little, they would always ask me to give them massages and they're like, oh my gosh, you're so good. You should do this for the rest of your life. And you're like, okay, cool. I'm really good at this. I'm going to keep this in the back of my head. One summer when I was 9 years old, my uncle actually got his leg amputated and they forced a 9-year-old to stay with him the entire summer to take care of him.
Oh my God.
But, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just there to keep him company.
Yeah.
We watch TV. He would make his snacks. He would pull pranks on me. And then he would actually have someone come to the house and take care of him and do these exercises not every single day, but I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 times a day.
Often, yeah.
With me being there, everyone started calling me like his nurse. So I thought, oh, I'm going to be a nurse when I grow up because everyone says I'm really good at being a nurse. So flash forward to senior year of high school when we were applying to college applications, my mom and my sister, they're like, okay, you got to be a nurse now. This is the time to apply. Just go ahead, do it. And I'm like, okay, I guess so. That's all I know what I should do. But in my heart of hearts, there was just something that was telling me I didn't want to do it. I think mostly out of rebellion because I did not like people telling me what to do, but I had no other option because I didn't know what else I liked. So I applied, got into UCI's nursing program, and it was finally when I got there, and I don't know why I didn't look up what nursing was, but when they told me what nursing was, I was like, I don't want to do this. So
what do you mean? What about nursing did you not want to do?
I based nursing off of what I saw my uncle doing, which was the exercising, which was the massaging.
Gotcha.
Which was just getting in and out of his wheelchair and walking, learning how to use his prosthetic leg. And I thought that was nursing. But then 15 years later, they're like, oh, what are you talking about? That's physical therapy. But I didn't know that. I didn't have a name to that. And as I was searching all these careers, it's, oh yeah, nurses help people in the hospital when they're sick. They help them get out of bed. Oh, they help them eat and get better. And I'm like, oh, that kind of sounds like what I thought it was. So I was like, cool, yeah, let's continue down this career path. But then, like I said, once I got there, an orientation happened and they're like, oh yeah, you work in the hospital, you get their meds, you do this and that. And I'm like, hard stop. Wait a second. This is not what I thought it was going to be. And I had volunteered in a hospital, but again, I think my mind was just so narrowed in on thinking what I thought nursing was. So I didn't have a passion for it. I didn't have a passion for nursing. I went through the motions of going to class, but because I didn't have that fire in me to continue to pursue this career, and mind you, nursing is a great profession. I have the utmost respect for nurses, but it just didn't feel like me. Because of that, I pursued other interests and here comes Cobble Modern where, oh my God, I love dancing. I've been dancing my whole life. And these are people who are very passionate about what they're doing. I'm going to spend all my time with these people and kind of put nursing or school in the back burner. So I failed out. I failed out of the nursing program. And it was probably the most devastating failure of my life at that time. Not because I was sad to not be a nurse anymore, but just the fact that I failed at something. I didn't do everything to the T. Everything prior to that, I was straight A student, blah, 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 this and that, all these accomplishments. And I just failure to me wasn't ever an option, but here I am choosing to fail because I wasn't passionate about something. So it was really hard to process the emotions that I was going through. So I switched my major to public health and I just continued on through that route. But it was only after graduating where a PT aide position popped up. And I was like, you know what? Let me see what this is about. And I applied. And I didn't know what the position even called for. And then in the interview, the owner was like, so why do you want to become a physical therapist? And I had no good answer other than the story I just told you about my uncle. And that was the first time I actually described that story and I started crying. And then he was like, oh my God, I don't know what to do here. Here's a tissue. Let me step out for a second to give you a moment. So I collected myself. And then he was like, it sounds like your uncle was a really special person and you really show passion for helping others. I really appreciate you sharing that story with me. I thought I tanked that interview because I cried because everyone says to be professional.
Right.
But then a couple of days later, I get the call saying I got the job. And when I asked him, like, why did you hire me when I cried during the interview? Yeah. And he was like, it was because you showed genuine passion, not just because you wanted to do something that you thought was something that made a lot of money or gave you prestige or whatever. It was the fact that you really, truly, deeply cared about something and you wanted to pursue helping others. So that was my undergrad experience.
And after that, it was just like PT school and then kind of going.
Yeah, exactly. So I hunkered down. I had to go back to community college to improve my grades, like everything, chemistry, physics, anatomy, everything science related that was all I knew that I had to do to boost my GPA. My prerequisites were like, I don't even know. They were bad. But all A's after that, because I really had a focus now and I really wanted it. And I did a whole bunch of different like volunteer experiences and I worked at different PT clinics. And so I just made sure that I was setting myself up for success and that I was doing everything I could to like beef up my resume to, I guess, make up for my horrible undergrad GPA. Because that's something that they really look for is how do you do as a full-time student, not just as someone who wants to make up for being a full-time student.
Right.
Yeah.
So from there, I have two questions. So one is, you mentioned like timeline in quotes in relation to your career. Like, how does that apply to your own journey? And or two, we can do either or both. But as someone like an audience member who wants to get into PT, and as someone who I don't know what goes into the undergraduate experience, then applying to PT school or like boosting your resume or getting like job experience at like a clinic or something. I guess what takeaways or advice would you give to someone who wants to get into it? Either kind of like, here's what it's like. It's really hard. Think about this. That sort of thing. Like as a person who's, oh, she does PT. I really want to get into it. What would you say to them?
Like insight into
exactly
how to get into that field. So I didn't know anything about that either until I started talking to other PTs. So basically, first of all, you can have a bachelor's degree in anything. It doesn't have to be science related. It can be like Alex, my husband, he has a bachelor's in anthropology. I have one in public health. Other people can have one in drama, whatever. You just need to have a bachelor's. The second thing is that you need to fulfill the prerequisites. So like I said, I went back to community college so I can fulfill all of my science and math and all this other stuff. So as long as you fulfill those two, depends on the school, you can either do the GRE or not. But there are some schools that require you to do various volunteer hours, shadowing hours, or work hours so you can be a physical therapist aide or physical therapy aide. In California, you're allowed to do exercises with a patient as an aide. You don't have to have a license. You can work with patients one-on-one, and that is direct patient care, which is actually the best experience because then you get to feel like you're actually doing something.
Hands-on.
Hands-on in a way. But you can't do any of like, obviously the diagnosing. You can't change the exercises. You have to do exactly what the physical therapist tells you to do with them. And you're not allowed, obviously, to give like medical advice. So you always defer to your PT. Yeah, I'd say get your college degree, get your undergrad degree, get your hours in, get diverse hours in various places because anyone can volunteer at an outpatient clinic because it's so prominent. Anyone can volunteer at a hospital because that's also very prominent. It's like the unique experiences. I volunteered at this overnight camp in Big Bear, and it was for kids who had limb loss or limb differences.
Oh, interesting.
That was something that I wanted to explore again because it kind of related back to my uncle where he had his limb loss. And I think after that, that really solidified me pursuing this career. So yeah. And then, some schools will have you do interviews or not. And I think there's this, I forget what it's called, but it's like this application system online where you click on all the schools you want to apply to, and then you just send your application. It goes all the way there. But some private schools will obviously ask for different things. Yeah, it's just making sure you have all of those checked off. Not sure how it's different this time around because it might have changed. It was 2016, 2017 when I applied and got in. So it could be different now, but I feel like that's basically like the backbone.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, in a competitive field like that, what are the biggest factors? Like GPA, your diverse experiences, like you said, maybe the interview, other stuff on the application. So it's just kind of doing your best to beef up that sort of application in any way possible.
Yeah. But also I feel like you really have to have a passion for this.
Makes sense. Cry in the interview, guys.
I do something. I cry.
It worked.
I cry in every interview. It is my thing now.
Tears just start running. Like, whoa, what's going on?
It's so bad. I cannot not cry. And I've just accepted it by now. I have tissues in my pocket whenever I go to interview. But I think, one thing that people need to understand is that because it's such a physically demanding job, you really have to, when you walk into that door, it's not about you anymore. It's about that person that everyone's in pain. They're coming to you for help. And you have to be willing to think out of the box for them, be willing to look for answers if you don't have one, be willing to accept when you can't help them because it's just not in your capacity, whether it's like not your specialty or you just don't have the answers for them, right? You have to have this balance of knowing enough and knowing when you just can't help a person. And you can't do it for the money because honestly, PT is not a very, unless you own a clinic or you work for a very high end place, you don't do it for the money.
Right. That's not really the purpose for people going into PT.
Yes.
Makes sense. Do you have any thoughts on that timeline sort of question? Because I know you put that in. Do you want to elaborate on that?
Yeah. So I think, it took me a long time to get to where I am, but it felt long for me because I didn't go straight from undergrad to grad school. I took 4 years to, again, finish out doing all those prerequisites and getting all that experience. When I felt like, looking back at it now, I wish I had just done all of those prerequisites in maybe 2 years to cut it short and then get to it sooner. But at the same time, I probably wouldn't have been, or probably not, I probably would not be the person I am today without all those 4 years to get to where I am. Because when I went to PT school, the school I went to, the program, it was some people were grandfathered in from their undergrad program, and then you had other people who were in this grad state like me. So it was a mishmash of 30 kids from here, 30 people from here. And various walks of life, various life experiences, various personalities. I feel like having that time off gave me a little bit more life experience than if I had just gone from undergrad to grad. Because I was still very immature at 22, 23, 24. Didn't really know, wasn't really confident in myself. I just knew I had to do something. And not to say that most people don't know how they are at that age, but for myself, I feel like I took the right amount of time to figure out exactly what I wanted. And I didn't rush it. And I can appreciate all of those obstacles, all of those nights in, all of those sacrifices I made to almost create a different life for myself than what I thought I had before, or what I knew. I feel like I could have done more, but also life just throws you in that right timeline.
Part of the journey, right?
Yeah. So I feel like for most people, there's this pressure to get your life together right away, but you really don't need to succumb to that. You can just do whatever you want on your own terms because that's what's going to make you feel the most fulfilled, the most happy, the most satisfied. The most reward comes from living your own journey.
Yeah, I love that. I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of college students nowadays need to hear that, mostly because I also dance with a lot of college students, but it's always that anxiety of I'm behind, I'm comparing myself, and I need to have this figured out as soon as I graduate, if not
Mm-hmm.
beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
And anyone in our stage where you don't need to have it all figured out. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, the process is figuring out who you are, and then you'll
Mm-hmm.
figure out which way you're supposed to go
Yeah.
afterwards. But
Mm-hmm.
you have to appreciate the journey. And when you don't get what you want, you gain experience. So you're not
Mm-hmm.
actually losing anything from those
Right.
4 or 6 or
Yeah.
whatever years. Because the worst case scenario is you're going up the wrong building, the wrong
Mm-hmm.
ladder,
Mm-hmm.
and you're like, oh, now I got to go back down and up another one. But
Mm-hmm.
you might as well take the time to just,
Mm-hmm.
we talked about this before on the show, about calibrating your compass. And that's more worth your
Mm-hmm.
time than trying to rush in some direction that might not be
Mm-hmm.
right for you.
Mm-hmm.
So I totally agree with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I guess on that, another topic that you mentioned was like pursuing your passions. That was like a big thing. And I think a lot of people can relate to that. So my initial questions, and we can also divulge from this, is what are your passions, or like how does one balance your passions like with the career, a relationship, family responsibilities, etc.? It seems clear that you are at least passionate about PT from all the tears in the interviews, but are there any other things you wanted to call out on there? And then how does one go about pursuing and then balancing those passions?
I think when I wrote that down, I was thinking about how, yes, I'm passionate about physical therapy, but I'm also passionate about keeping like my peace, my personal peace, and doing things according again to like my timeline, and doing things that make me feel like I am a worthy person in the world. So I created my own side business of doing mobile PT services. And rather than just joining another company, like I still do that, I'm still kind of full time somewhere else.
Yeah.
But rather than just working only for another person who they're profiting off of my hard work, I'm going to pursue my own entrepreneurship with creating my own business model for myself, providing PT how I want to treat patients, not how insurance dictates me how to treat a patient, and doing whatever I feel is the most appropriate for that person when they're coming to see me. And I feel like that's what it's really all about, right? Trying to help people as much as possible without the constraints of someone's rules. So I feel like I just unlocked myself by doing that. And it's really scary because you have no rules, but you get to make the rules up as you go. And by being an independent PT in that aspect, I feel the most free. I feel like I'm the most myself as a professional. When I was working elsewhere, they go through like this trial and error process, or like a probationary process where they monitor you. And it felt like I was a student all over again. And it was, it's for safety, and it's just to make sure that you're not like saying weird things and you're a nice person. But also that made me a version of myself where it wasn't me. I was doing it performatively to make sure I wasn't going to get fired. But with me being with patients one-on-one, I get to be the truest self, my truest self, and just, I don't know, give my all. And I don't know, JR. My mind's going blank.
Yeah, no, I get it. It's, you work in an environment where there's a lot of constraints, right? And this ability to have not those constraints and kind of approach it the way you feel like is best, and you can help serve your patients, and that can be an unlock because while constraints are good because it makes you think inside the box, once you have that sort of down, and obviously you've been a professional for a while, then when you have those, you can now think outside the box. You can add more value to your clients and your patients and get more fulfillment out of like your career.
Yeah. I think I remember what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I think me being in my own role has allowed me to bridge the gap between my two passions, which is dance and PT.
Oh, right. That's right.
Being able to, because there's a lot of places that do that. And again, if they do, it's under the constraints of someone else's rules. And so being able to provide dance therapy, or being able to provide physical therapy for dancers in the capacity where it's not just about exercises, it's about like movement analysis, and even providing the massage therapy or the manual therapy that I guess I'm really good at.
I guess, I just get paid for it.
But, it's creating your own path, because I was passionate about these two things and just trying to find that balance of how can I get the best of both worlds? Even though I'm not an active dancer anymore, I get to still contribute back to the dance community in that capacity and still help the next generation be the best versions of themselves. and give them something that I wish that I had as a dancer. So that's part of the reason why I also went to PT, is because when Darren, during Hell Week for Vibe, he injured himself.
Yeah.
And we were all just there like, what do we do now?
Is that his knee? I forgot.
Yeah, I think it was his ACL.
Oh, his ACL.
And it's a hard
destroyed.
recovery, I think. But yeah, that's a hard recovery. And knowing what I know now, it can take like 6 to 9 to 12 months of rehab before even back to feeling like some sort of normal. So that was also another driving force of me going into PT school. It's just trying to give back to the people who have made me the person that I want to be or that I am. Yeah.
I like that. Anything else on? Okay, so what about balance? So we talked about passions and kind of bridging the gap between dance and PT. Do you have any thoughts on balancing those passions, if requires any at all, or do you feel like there is some sort of balance needed?
I think with physical therapy in general, there is a nice work-life balance because you don't necessarily take your work home.
Gotcha.
You get to treat your patient, you get to treat your client, but then, you might have to document afterwards, but that's about it. And with the free time that I have, I don't have to worry about, I have to like get all this done for work. I don't have projects. I don't have deadlines to meet. I don't have to be consumed by other things other than when I'm with my patient. That's given me a bit more just mental freedom, I guess. So it's kind of nice that way.
Right. There's a lot more like slack or buffer built in that is not, so you can compartmentalize. Okay, cool. I think that's a lot of good stuff. So we can pivot. So the two next topics, the two next topics, we can go whichever one you want to pick. So one is letting go. And the other is UGC, user generated content creation. Which one do you want to go to first?
Let's go UGC. It's different.
Yeah. Okay, so for those who don't know, which includes me before I did research, what is UGC and how did you get into it?
So UGC is user generated content. And basically, let me backtrack for a second. Most people on social media will create content for their own, right? And so then you would be considered like an influencer because you're trying to advocate for something or promote something or do something on your own account, but it shows other people how to like either live their life or whatever. I'm a really shy person by nature. And I also don't have those like creative juices to create content for myself all the time. I wish I did because I love watching vlogs. I love watching just other people live their lives, and I live like my life vicariously through that. But I just don't have that in me to just like showcase my life. I don't think I'm a very exciting person, but I wanted a different way to supplement my income. And I knew that social media was the way to go because everyone now is on social media. And after doing all this research, there are so many ways that you could make money off of social media. But I don't want to be an influencer. So I randomly was scrolling and I was served this ad of this girl who was advertising her guide on how to start social media or how to start UGC. And so
how convenient.
I know.
How convenient ads.
It's like she was like reading my mind.
Or listening to your phone.
It's crazy, right? But yeah, so I clicked on it and she was just saying now you can just make videos for other brands to post on their social media accounts and that you don't even have to post it on your own social media account. And I thought that was amazing because that's exactly what I wish I could do, but I didn't know how to do it. So I purchased her guide and I read the entire thing. And it took me about 2 to 3 weeks. And I was still really skeptical because I was like, is this a scam? Like how, because I'm sure you've seen all those ads like, oh, here, I'm selling this digital product. Yeah. It's like
buy this course.
How, and like what are you even selling? Yeah. You're just selling your digital product on how to sell digital products.
Yes. Okay. Sorry. Real quick tangent. Where it's, I'm rich. I have a Lambo. So buy my course on how to also be rich. And you're making your money off of this $3,000 course on how to get rich. What are you actually doing?
It doesn't make any sense. What are you teaching me just to scam other people?
So I can create my own course to do exactly what you're doing right now.
So So I read it and I was like, okay, well, this actually sounds like you could do it. So let me try it. She has email templates for pitches. She has a couple of contacts. And then she has this whole school community online. SKOOL.
Okay.
And it's basically just all those people who bought her guide in one place. So it's like an open forum kind of a thing. So I started making my portfolio with sample videos of things I just had at home. And they would give me feedback on how to make it better. And then I started pitching to brands. And I was like, is this real? Are people just going to put me in the trash? And I started getting these responses with like, oh yeah, cool. What are your rates? And I was like, oh my God, people are asking me how much I want to get paid. So then I went back to the guide. I'm like, how much do people actually get paid for this? What do I do? And so I sent them my rates. And then it just started snowballing from there. I made one video here, one video there. I can't even remember what videos I've made anymore. And I've only been doing this since May. But I remember I got my first inbound, which is when someone contacts you.
Yeah.
And I thought that was the coolest thing because now I am visible enough in the space.
Well, how did they find you? Do you have a page that's dedicated to it?
Okay. So I have my portfolio.
Yeah.
I bought a domain and I post all of my examples, my best examples on my portfolio with my contact information. But the way to get to my portfolio, if you don't know who I am, is through my Instagram. So I've posted some of those examples on my Instagram. I have my link in bio, and then you can go to my portfolio. A lot of my inbounds come from
like someone seeing those sample videos that you do for, I see.
Yeah.
So it's not like a lease, or what's it called? If you're creating content for a business, you're allowed to repost that? Or
What do you mean?
Because then, let's say I'm a brand and you make a video for me and I pay you, right? And I'm posting on my socials, I guess, right? But then you're also posting that video on your socials as samples so that people can reach out to you. So that's fine.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
As long as that's in your contract.
Gotcha.
Because some brands don't want you to do that either.
Right. Because they want to own that content sometimes. Gotcha.
Yeah. So that's an option. Or you can make like extra videos that aren't given to that brand, but then you can make that into your sample video.
Sample. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's been kind of cool. I do this on the side, obviously, and I do it in my free time. And it has been a roller coaster of emotions because it's so different than anything I've done before. I've always been intrigued by videos. Like even in high school, I had my little digital camera and I would just be recording everything. And I would post stuff on YouTube, but they're just like silly videos, like of just me and my friends hanging out with no like marketing attached to it. But knowing that I feel a bit comfortable in front of the camera, especially in private, makes it easier to do because then you're just kind of doing whatever, and you're just showing personality. And I think that is a way for me to stay creative without using so much of my physical self at times. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that. It's like a creative outlet, if not like for a professional sense, but like a side sort of thing. But I feel like most people need that, which is some sort of creative outlet. On that note, I guess for people who are curious, do you have any either tips or best practices or how to get into doing user-generated content if someone's interested in doing it? I don't know if you want to plug the same place that you learned from, or if they're already doing it, like what has been working for you to get some success?
Yeah. I would love to plug. So I follow, oh my gosh, what's her handle? I think it's Tran UGC.
Okay.
And
we'll link it.
Yes. And her guide is, I think, also tranugc.com. And she actually just increased her prices. But this is like gold. This is really valuable information. There are a lot of other UGC masters out there and experts and whatnot. But I really feel like the amount of time that she dedicated into creating this guide has been very digestible and user friendly. And it makes you feel like you can do this. I've bought a couple other guides at a cheaper price from other people, and they're just kind of very generic. It's all kind of the same information, but they want you to buy that as a way to buy more.
Like an entry point to
Yeah.
upsell you.
And I think she does have this mini guide too, but honestly, everything that I've learned has been primarily through this guide and then the community that she provides. So I feel like access to people who can answer questions and just provide support, and everyone is just so nice. Like you just feel like you're part of a tribe again. And that's what I really wanted, is to have that support. So, I mean, you can still start it on your own if you just look up how to start UGC on like ChatGPT or something like that. But I don't think you're going to get the same experience if you don't have people giving you feedback and people giving you the amount of support that you get from community. Yeah.
Okay. So you'd recommend the guide from that person
Mm-hmm.
and like the community that helps you kind of
Mm-hmm.
learn live, get feedback from
Yeah.
them.
It's really simple to start, honestly. Like I said, you just take whatever products that you actually use in your home
Mm.
and then you just make videos on that. There's a formula. It's called the direct response formula. And that's how you guide your script and how you guide your visuals. That way you're not just rambling about these products. You have to give like substance and a message. Otherwise, people are just going to keep scrolling. You have to have a hook, right? Something that engages the audience when they first scroll and to stop them from scrolling. And then I feel like from there, as long as you're just natural about what you're promoting, it should be pretty easy.
Mm.
Yeah.
Really quick, I think I remember if you posted this recently, but it was that video that you did, which was like making a song about like, breaking my sister's something.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Yeah, it was an ad for some sort of
It was an
AI
app. Yeah.
an
It was
app. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of funny. I was like, "What is this?" And I was like, "Oh, this is actually really well done." Because like, I would definitely download it. But
Oh,
it was
really?
so
Okay,
funny.
good. That was actually one of my first inbounds that I
Oh,
got.
okay, that's cool.
So it was this AI generated music app, and the concept that they wanted me to do was to prank someone.
Mm.
And the song was supposed to tell them that I broke something or I did something. And I really wanted a genuine reaction from my sister. And I'm a little sister. And so I do this to my sister all the time. Like I am the epitome of a little sister. And mind you, she's like 40 and I'm
Yeah.
33.
Yeah.
So I still punk her. And so I made that video, and that was probably the most viewed video on that app's account because of how extra she was.
Yeah.
But it was just a really genuine,
Yeah, it was genuine.
genuine reaction. It's kind of like a proud moment that I was actually able to do something and people responded well to
Yeah,
it.
it took off.
Yeah,
Nice.
cool.
Yeah, that was a fun video. I agree.
Thanks.
Okay, so last topic. We can get into this. We can take as much time as you want, or we don't have to. We can go to rapid fire. But so you mentioned letting go, right? And it's a big thing for you in terms of something that you learned over time. My question would be like, what are some examples of things that you felt like were important to let go, and or do you want to elaborate on kind of that, what letting go means to you?
Yeah, I think as someone who dwells on a lot of things, like I'm a very introspective person and I'm extroverted when I have to be, but for the most part, like I think a lot of thoughts to myself. And there are certain things that you do in life where maybe you look back and you decide, oh, that wasn't my best moment. Or you say something and you're like, oh crap, like I shouldn't have said that, but you can't take it back because it was already said and done. And, I have a lot of those moments where you just realize that you're just not your best self, even though you think that you are. There's one example in when we were still on Modern and I was one of the directors. I would stay up at night just haunted by my own thoughts, dwelling on ways that I had behaved and ways that I had handled certain things. But I was also paralyzed with those types of feelings that I didn't know how to get out of it. And I didn't know how to be a better person. It was just very all consuming. And so that I feel like that made me spiral into a dark hole because, oh my gosh, I'm this bad person. I can't get out of it. This must be who I am. So then I continued to just be the same way. I couldn't climb myself out of this hole. And then years later, after going to therapy, I realized that you're this way because you care, but you just don't have the guidance. You don't know who to ask for help, and you're afraid to ask for help or admit that you were wrong because other people are looking up to you. And you can't show that you don't know what you're doing to people who are trying to seek help from you to be a leader. So I feel like in my now 30s, my late 20s, I had to let go of all of those inner demons and just forgive myself for not being the perfect person that I wish I was, or that I wish that I thought, or that I thought I was. And reaching out to certain people to kind of get closure because of that. Because it's still haunted me. Because that's not the person that I want to be remembered as either. It's not the person that I was proud of being. I think it's important to understand that everyone goes through phases of life and that it's okay if you're not the perfect version of yourself in that moment, But as long as you're able to learn the lessons yourself and kind of grow and be better now than you were before, then that's a win. You know, you're constantly growing and evolving, but you can't do that if you can't look back at yourself and let go of the things that are eating you alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. Thanks for sharing. And I
Yeah.
feel like a lot of people can relate. I kind of tangentially to that is, I ask people a lot, what do they regret? What would they do differently? Right. And a lot of times people will say, and this is totally fine, is, oh, I don't really have regrets because obviously my mistakes made me who I am now. And that's perfectly fine. And I agree with that. But I also learned recently too that your regrets, well, I see it differently, meaning I like that I have regrets because it helps me to learn and become a better person. It's that accountability. Yeah, I messed up and this is my regret. And I'm not going to let it haunt me, right? I'm not going to let it eat at me, but I want to always remind myself that it's theirs to keep me accountable so I won't do it again. Because you don't want to just erase, forget, right? Because or else you're not going to learn from that if you don't have that sort of thing that says, hey, remember you messed up.
Yeah.
And I think that's healthy. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. As long as it, like you said, doesn't eat at you and doesn't cause you from moving forward and becoming that better person.
Right.
So yeah, I totally agree. I like that.
Yeah.
Anything else on that before we move on to rapid fire?
Nah.
Okay, cool. No, I mean, that was good. I liked it a lot. I think that itself was already gold. Okay, rapid fire questions. Season 2 questions. We'll start with the billboard questions normal. So if you could put up a sign for millions of people to see, what would it say?
Oh my God. Okay. So I thought about this all week, and
as most people do,
I could have gone so many different directions, right? I could have done something that like advertised for myself or for something that I'm passionate about or just something random. But I thought about what I see on billboards and how I react to certain billboards. And I feel like if I were to put something up for millions of people to see, I would want to get almost like an immediate reaction out of them. And when I say what I'm about to say, most people react to it, which is check your posture. And most people will always like
me every like 15
okay, minutes. And as a PT, I'm not trying to be a posture police, but I do know that most people look like this. Most people look like they're hunched over, their head is down.
No, you guys.
And guess what?
All you guys are so bad at your
all of you guys will give me a hard time to hound on your posture, but then you come in with all this neck and upper back pain, numbness and tingling into your hands.
Definitely not
me. And so if I were to just put out a little billboard that just said, check your posture, immediately when everyone hears the word posture, they sit up. And that's it. That's all you got to do is just change positions because that's what your body wants. Your body wants to just be upright. So just be upright. But not all the time. You can get out of that.
Of course.
But for the majority of the day, do not be here.
Just be aware of your posture.
Just be aware. Yeah.
I love that question, that answer. Very unique. I imagine if you put a camera on the freeway and people pass by your billboard, everyone's like, just
oh my God. Car seat posture is also the worst because you have people who don't fit their car. You got big people who are in small cars, small people in big cars, and like you get these little people who are like craning their necks. It's just horrible. And like car seats are not very ergonomic to begin with. And so that is like my number one thing is just that's something that you can control. You just choose not to. So just check your posture. Move once every hour. Top and bottom every hour. Just sit upright. Pull your shoulders back. That's all. So simple.
Yo, that's like the theme of my life for the last year. I'm like, oh, I gotta check my posture.
I know.
All this pain.
As our podcast, I was just like this all day.
Yeah.
But it's fine. It's fine. Now we're going to check our posture.
We're talking about our posture is perfect this entire time. Hopefully you're listening to the audio so you can't check. All right, next one. What is one of the hardest challenges you faced in your life and what did you learn from it? If anything.
I think every transitional period in someone's life is really hard because you're trying to navigate life in a new chapter, I guess. Oh, God, I'm trying not to cry. Here I go again.
Call me Brian.
I was thinking about this and it's still something that I'm trying to figure out is JR. Okay. Life without my dad. He wasn't I'm going to backtrack. he was a very supportive person in my life. And it's all of the small things that he would do for our family that I took for granted. And I felt like, oh, that's just what dads do, right? Sorry. Ugh. I mean, yeah. Okay. He was there for all of my like dance performances, living in LA, and then Kaba Kids or Creative Movement being in Irvine. He would drive me every Friday and Sunday after school or at Sunday afternoons. He would drive me in like hour and a half traffic, wait for me in his car while he would just watch on his portable DVD player, like the same 4 movies over and over again. And then he would drive me home and do it all over again for 3 years. He would always be at like my volleyball games. He would always fix things around the house. He always had some sort of solution to whatever tangible problem that you had. And he was always a person who, even though he would grumble at a request, he would do it. Dad, I forgot my lunch. Can you bring it to me? Or Dad, I forgot this. Or Dad, can you do this? Can you pick this up? Whatever. He was an active serviceman. And I feel like that really developed my love language of acts of service. And now that he's gone, I feel like a little lost because he always had the solution to every problem. And having to figure things out for myself like an adult should, it's harder knowing that there is not that person who did have those answers or someone who you could rely on. And it's harder to, I guess, navigate family dynamics without him there just because it's different. Not that it's bad, it's just different.
Yeah.
So there's always going to be that space where I feel a little bit empty because he's not there, but I feel so appreciative knowing that he had given me so much love. So hardest challenge is still to this day figuring that out.
Yeah. I saw this video with Elmo and Andrew Garfield. It just came on my feed and it messed me up. And he was talking about him losing his mom recently and Elmo was asking about it. And Andrew Garfield was like, I know, these feelings will make you feel sad, but I also love and appreciate these feelings because it meant that person meant something to you, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because that feeling of emptiness and loss means that they lived, they existed, they made that impact on you. And we should appreciate and also love those feelings. Of course it hurts, but it made me kind of see things differently because we all deal with loss. But if we can see it that way, then I don't know. I feel like, just to reframe.
Yeah, totally.
Totally. But thanks for sharing that. I'm sure a lot of people can relate or will relate to that. All right. Next one is self-inflicted wound. So do you have a story or something that's gone wrong in your life that is your own fault and you can't blame anyone else because you did it to yourself?
My answer for this question was actually my nursing school failure. So I'm just going to leave it at that. You make decisions and you pay for the consequences and you just learn how to live with it and move on.
Yeah, move on.
Yeah.
If you could redo one thing, what would you do differently?
Can we skip this one?
Yeah.
We come back to it?
Yeah, we can. And you talked about a lot of stuff that's similar. If you could give your younger self advice, what would it be now? Any age, any time period?
Oh my God. Stop plucking your eyebrows. I think when you're young and you're pubescent and you want to fit in and you just have all of these fairy tales in your head about how you're supposed to look and blah, blah, blah. You're hormonal and you want to just, be a certain way. You do silly little things and I have 2 older sisters. And so I would model all of my ways of like beauty and fashion and all these like external things off of them. But then when they went off to college, like, oh my God, again, like I feel like I just need other people as a crutch to tell me how to live my life. I am a 33-year-old teenager, JR. Okay. So, so yeah, I feel like just on a like bigger level is that it's okay to be who you are. You don't need to change to fit someone else's standards. You don't have to worry about what other people are thinking about you because everyone is worried about themselves. And that if other people are judging you for who you are, then they're not really worth your time. And I feel like that is, that message has been reiterated in some way over and over and over again, but it's true. It doesn't really resonate until it means something to you and you can relate to it. And so I feel like if you are just comfortable with yourself, you don't have to be confident. You can just be comfortable. And then that confidence will come because you're no longer thinking about what others are thinking about you.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Sometimes when I'll give like college students advice as well, I'll preface it with this like, look, you might not understand this or relate to this. Let me just tell you.
Mm-hmm.
And then later on, when you get through that point and you're like, oh yeah, what he said was right, or like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But you won't even really internalize it until it happens to you, or like that mistake or whatever. So let me just plant this now. I'm not telling you what to do, but just know that the information was there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I should at least do that. But
totally,
yeah, totally
100%, 1000%.
Mm-hmm. In the last few years, what new belief, behavior, or habit has improved your life?
I think time blocking. I've always been a person to live and die by the schedule. But after you don't have a schedule anymore, you have to create your own schedule. You just lose track of time. And then so many tasks just get put on the back burner, but then you get overwhelmed. Being able to time block and only designate certain things at certain times will save the mental capacity and the emotional capacity because you only have a certain amount of time to think about things. So, for example, my therapist told me to time block, and then my friend also reminded this to me as well. But if you're feeling a certain way, you're allowed to feel that, but let's like keep it within 10 minutes because you're dedicating that time for it. But don't let it again consume you because there are other things that you have to focus on. So appreciate the time that you have to feel really sad. If you have to schedule a 5-minute cry, go for it. But also don't feel bad that you have to do so because it's healthy to just live through those emotions. But since you have so many things to do, you have to prioritize certain things and then time block yourself. So and then you can appreciate your freedom. So I feel like that has been a habit I'm currently implementing again because I wasn't doing that for the past 4 years after school. It was just like, oh, okay, I'll do it at this time.
Yeah.
Then you're just kind of living life willy-nilly and, so yeah, it's just been I've been a bit more productive because of that.
Nice. I think that's a good tip. All right. Who would you call successful and how do you define success?
I feel like success is to every individual. And I feel like I've heard this on your podcast before with other people where success is success is defined by being or feeling happy with your decisions. And it's not just about like money or accumulating all these accomplishments and accolades. It's about doing something and feeling like that had given you the fulfillment, the reward for yourself. And so I feel, you can have all the money in the world, but are you truly happy with how you got that or what exactly you're flaunting? Yeah, I feel like, success is in the eye of the beholder.
Yeah, definitely. Do you have any specific examples of maybe someone you can point to and be like, I really think this person is successful. I like what they're doing or something like that, if anything?
I thought about this YouTube vlogger that I've been following for the past like 10 years. Her name is Jen Im. And she is really, really well known. And she's been in the game for such a long time. And she's been a YouTuber primarily as like her full-time thing. And she divulges her life online and she gets really intimate with her viewers. But really, she's just talking to a camera. She's talking to no one, but everyone at the same time. And she does so just on her own accord. No one's forcing her to do so. But then she starts to level up each time that I see her. New house, family, this and that, this and that. And so to me, I find her successful because she's found her passion. She's gone for it. She's gone through all these life trials that she divulges online, that she allows us to see. But yet she comes out of it still doing what she wants to do without... It just feels like she's a really genuine and authentic person. And keeping that as an example for how I want to live my life. Not to say that I want to put my life online all the time, but just being your true authentic self with whatever you're doing will then lead the life that you want or will or are deserving of, I guess. Yeah.
I like that. All right. Next question. If you knew you couldn't fail, what would you try or what would you be doing now?
Ooh, if I was 10 years younger and I really took dance seriously, I would be a professional dancer.
Oh, yeah.
I think just again, like you hold yourself back when you don't think that you're good enough. And so then you just go a different route. But then again, I was pursuing PT at the time. But if I knew I couldn't fail, if every audition
Yeah.
was like number one, like A plus, I would for sure be a professional dancer on tour with somebody. Justin Timberlake.
I was about to say, who are your top people? Justin Timberlake?
Justin Timberlake or like Usher or I don't even know. Anyone.
Anyone like
Just
that
anyone.
tier, those people?
Yeah.
I like it. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you've made in time, money, energy, etc.? Any of those?
I think investing in education outside of school. So I did a mentorship program with Offset Med, and I did one of their like online seminars or online workshops during COVID. And I was still a student at the time, but it just gave me a different perspective of how other practitioners in the dance field are helping dancers, like athletic trainers, chiropractors, other physical therapists, other dancers, just movement based individuals are helping dancers to that capacity. I felt like really gave me inspiration and resources and just a different way again of thinking and how to treat people. So, yeah, I feel like just going the extra mile to get supplemental education for your own field is very valuable, especially if you're passionate about that. Yeah.
All right, last few. Favorite recent purchase under or around $50 to $100 that has impacted your life the most in the last 6 months?
Oh, I really couldn't tell you. I don't think I've made many purchases in that.
We can change the time frames or the range.
Okay.
The spirit of the question is something that has impacted your life that you bought. We try to keep it like lower end, but it doesn't matter if it's higher end.
Going back to the whole time blocking thing, I know there's a whole bunch of stuff with AI now and you can get all these apps, but I use Motion, that app, where it helps me time block. So I just plug in the task and it will reshuffle my schedule to allow me to finish that task within a reasonable amount of time.
Oh.
So let's say I need to shoot something for UGC and it takes about an hour to 2 hours. I'll just plug that in and then it will put it in my schedule where I have those 1 to 2 hour pockets so that I'm not like, okay, I have to rearrange my own schedule. Yeah. So it's kind of nice to keep me productive because it will tell me when I'm past due or again, if something major pops up, like an actual event I can't reschedule, I can put that in permanently and then it will take my other tasks and then reshuffle it.
Interesting. So what was it called again?
Motion.
Motion.
But it's like use motion.
Okay. Yeah. All right. I'll link it in the notes.
Yeah.
All right. So last one. Favorite books, movies, videos, articles, media, media or anything that you share or recommend the most?
This is something that I recommend to my patients a lot because it's about pain. And pain is such a complicated topic to understand, let alone to teach. And I can't just teach it within a 10-minute allowance. So I usually tell people to go to retrainpain.org. And it's this website that has these like 2 to 3 minute modules explaining pain in a better way than I could, again, in 10 minutes, because it has all these pictures and descriptions and blah, blah, blah. I think that's a really valuable tool to have for anyone because everyone experiences some level of pain, but not all pain is bad and not all pain is damaging. And that's an important thing to know because when you're injured, yes, we have pain, but sometimes we have aches and pains and we're like, oh my gosh, something is wrong. But it's usually just our body's alarm system telling us that something is happening versus something is damaging. So it's an interesting website to kind of look through to kind of get a better sense of what pain is.
Nice.
Yeah.
I think it's a great resource. All right. That is it for the rapid fire questions. So we can go into our ending questions. So like to end with gratitude as always. Shout out to my mom for teaching me this. So June, what are you grateful for?
I am grateful for life. I'm grateful for all of my experiences. I'm grateful to have this opportunity to reflect on the past 33 years of my life and knowing that I am the culmination of all of the people that I surround myself with, whether directly or indirectly, all of the experiences that I went through, all of the lessons learned, obstacles I had to jump through, all of the celebrations, all of the wins, all of the losses, everything in between. I am just so grateful for everything because life wouldn't be the same. Everything has just been right. Everything has been right. Otherwise, everything would be so different. I am grateful for you for this opportunity. Thank you so much, JR, for even coming up with this amazing podcast with 1,000 Gurus. What a great way to explore and storytell and just learn from a whole bunch of people of different walks of life. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. Appreciate it. Cool. Any final ask from the audience or like final takeaways that you want them to have? And again, feel free to plug.
Okay. Well, shameless plug then. If you are in the West LA area or the surrounding LA area and you need a physical therapist, whether you have aches or pains or just want someone to walk you through better ways to move, if you have any questions about any type of like past injuries, things like that, then feel free to hit me up at Dr. June PT on Instagram or June at drjune.rehab. I did not make my email.
So good.
Whatever.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, main takeaway is that everyone has their own journey. Everyone is the guru of their own life. And it doesn't matter what anyone else says or what anyone else thinks. It really just matters what you think of yourself and treat yourself right and love yourself the most and be a good person every single day.
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was great to catch up. I really appreciate it. Thank you for being here and taking the time. I know we're a little bit over and I know we could probably go on for hours. So maybe we'll do a part 2 sometime or catch up or another life events that we'll be together for. But yeah, this was a great conversation. I think we learned a lot and I think the audience will appreciate it. You are very introspective and thoughtful, and I can tell because when I interview people, it's like, you can tell who's really thought about certain things. And I feel like that really gives a lot to other people. So I really appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Cool. So we'll sign off now. So thank you guys for tuning in. Again, reminder to always be kind to others, especially yourself, and that you can always learn something from someone if you just take the time to listen. So thank you for tuning in.
Bye.